I'd like to welcome everybody back for Habit 4, and we're going to be talking about Think Win-Win, and we're about midway through the series. So thank you for joining us today, wherever you are on campus or off campus in the community. Paul, we live in a culture, especially in the academic world, of sometimes of a win-lose culture. We deal with credentialing, rankings, competition. So how do we remain focused on the win-win habit?
Okay. Again, another great question, Jim. Well, I'm going to frame it up this way. I don't even believe there is competition. I don't think there is any competition at all. Now, I'll tell you where I learned this. So I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, which is one of many, but certainly a hotbed of swimming. So I was in competition swimming. And there have been Olympic medalists in every games really since 1968. It wasn't me, but I swam with some of these greats.
Phelps
and Phelps is just the latest. There's
Yeah.
been more female Olympic gold medalists in swimming out of Baltimore.
Wow.
But anyhow, so at that level, I swam with a guy by the name of Red Sock. He ended up being the godfather for my kids. But he had this presence of mind. He said, there is no competition. He said this to all the athletes, but he would say, Paul, there is no competition. When you get up the race, there's only you and you in this race. He said, your goal is to do your personal best. If you do your personal best, and if you're happy doing it, you won.
Very good.
He also had this theory that for the Olympics particularly, that you win the gold, you also win the silver, you win the bronze. If you do your best, and you're happy doing it, you win. Okay. Let me also say that I think that win-win, I'm going to keep going here,
Okay.
is actually an economic principle. So it's about trade. It's about the better you do, the better I do.
I see.
The better I do, the better you do. So that's a trade concept. And it's based on the principle that the rising tide raises all boats.
Okay.
So it's really not about competition. It's just doing the best we can. And I got to make sure, for me to do the best, that I help you to do the best.
Very good. Very
There you
good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, another concept in this habit is the feeling that in our world, we sometimes fall into a mindset of scarcity,
Right.
especially with career choices and selections we have to make in life. Why is it important to consider abundance as a factor in everyday life?
Okay, yeah, again, Jim, that's a valid question. So scarcity is a lot like competition. Okay, first of all, it's not realistic. It's also very restricting. So it's kind of like there's a pie. We talked about earlier. There's a gold medal, like that's the only thing that's valuable. There's a pie. So if you get more of the pie, I get less. That's a mindset that, by the way, is not reality and is also very restricting. Let's look at the opposite. The opposite is abundance. Abundance is realistic, and it's empowering. And I'm going to give you an example. So you know I have twins, a son and a daughter, along with my wife. They are the loves of my life. But when they were young, each of them at different points would come to me and say, like my son would say, Dad, who do you love more? My sister or me? And she would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, one time they did. They were in the same room. I don't know who did it first, but I was ready. So I took them both to the kitchen. And I got out I think it was 5 or 6 glasses that were empty, and I turned on the faucet. I said, guys, we're going to learn about abundance. I said, I'm going to begin to fill up your glass with love. And I let the water from the faucet pour in, and I poured, and it was overflowing in each of their cups.
Wow.
Then I poured up the next one. I said, do you see that what this is my love is not finite, it is ever flowing. I can fill up your cup with love more than you need, more than you could ever possibly have. And your brothers, and your mothers, and your aunts, and your uncles. That was the multiple cups. That actually is realistic. Things are not scarce. Things are abundant. And it works a lot better.
What a great visual to remember, to see that faucet and the kids looking at the water. That's a great concept.
And it's reality.
Yeah, it is reality.
It's
Very
reality.
good. Thank you. That's
welcome.
good. Paul, in this particular habit, there's a matrix, and we're trying to balance personal courage with consideration in our everyday relationships. So how do we go about doing that to maintain that balance so we're faithful to ourselves as well as others?
Okay. Well, I think we got to start with the idea of what is effectiveness. Effectiveness is really the long-term results that we're looking for from our decisions and our behavior. I'm going to talk about a civilization that I think is a great example for us, and it's the Mayan civilization. This was a group way back in Mexico predominantly who advanced science advanced math, advanced agriculture and trade, win-win. However, so they had a lot of courage, okay, very bright, and a lot of courage, but they lacked the consideration of the resources. So, for example, they wasted the land, they overused the soil, they overused the water systems to the point that they had to abandon their cities and their villages. The Mayan culture imploded and vanished because of the lack of consideration. So our civilization is our families and our network of important relationships, our friends, our teammates, people we work with. We have the same need to balance courage and consideration in today's world. And we can learn from the Mayans. So, for example, I think our goal is to fulfill our own potential, that's courage, but to make sure that we protect our greatest resources, which are the people that we love. So balance is, we'll protect the integrity of our families, our organizations, our community. Courage to be good to ourselves, consideration to be good to the other resources, particularly the human resources.
Very good. That's a great concept, and the historical facts are evident.
They support.
They support it.
This balance is really crucial.
Very good example.
Really
very
crucial.
good. Thank you, Paul. So, Paul, thank you very much for joining us today. We look forward to looking at future habits. Habit 5 is coming up next, and
Yes.
you really have provided great lessons for sustainability for us on campus and for the community. So, thank you very much for
It's an honor
exploring
to participate
win-win.
and explore these ideas together.
Thank you.
You bet.